Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be looking at the 70-200 f2.8 IS Mark II. Now you can pick these up for around £600-ish now, going up to £800 if you want like a pristine version. But what we're going to do is look at this lens here and see how good it is now using it with sort of a mirrorless camera, just because this compared to the RF is a third of the price. It's still a 2.8, is a little bit longer than an RF, but let's see how good it really is. Hi guys, and welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be looking at the 70-200 f2.8 IS Mark II. Now you can pick these up for around £600-ish now, going up to £800 if you want like a pristine version. But what we're going to do is look at this lens here and see how good it is now using it with sort of a mirrorless camera, just because this compared to the RF is a third of the price. It's still a 2.8, is a little bit longer than an RF, but let's see how good it really is. Next photo here we've got a portrait. What you've all noticed though is there's an ever so slight miss on the eyes here. So this is using eye tracking on the R3, but the tracking is slightly right to the eye, so more in the gap between the nose and the eye. So that part of his face is fully in focus, but then the eyes slightly drifting out, the nose is slightly drifting out. So it just shows that it's not perfect all the time. Even on something like an R3, you can't always rely on it 100% hitting the mark. And finally what we got here is a frog. This happened to just hop around as I was with the camera and the lens, and this has got straight on the eye, nicely in focus, foreground very nicely out of focus, background with some bokeh balls nicely out of focus there, but really sharp image, and really happy to get that captured as spare of the moment. So the focus was spot on, and just after this photo was taken, he'd hopped off into the pond. So really good image there. So this is the 70-200 EF Mark II, the IS version. It is a big, hefty lump, because obviously all the weather sealing and magnesium body, etc., etc. Comes with this very nice lens hood here, which has a locking feature on it as well, just to make sure it doesn't just fall off as and when. But we'll move that to one side, just like that. You also have obviously the Canon standard lens hood there, but it is a very nice, well-made lens, and that's the first thing you'll kind of feel when picking this up if you're used to like the f4 or a non-L lens, is you'll pick this up and feel that it is just incredibly well made. All your buttons are on this side here, so you've got your focal distance, so 1.2 meters to infinite, 2.5 meters to infinite are on there. I tend to keep it at 1.2. There's not a massive amount of difference in focusing speed you gain from changing it over to that. You've got your AF and MF feature. You've got your manual focus ring is the one on the front. You've got your stabilizer on and off here, and your stabilizer mode 1 and 2. The filter thread size on this lens is 77mm, and it is just a very, very well made lens. Other things to know about the lens itself is it's got 23 elements in 19 groups. There are 8 diaphragm blades. Maximum aperture is 32. As I've already said, the closest focal distance is 1.2 meters, and it has 4 stops of image stabilization, so a little bit less than what some of the RF ones is, but still a very, very good lens. Now, another thing you'll notice is, it's probably not the easiest one to sort of show on the camera, but if you look inside of the lens hood itself, it's almost like a felt material. This is a very common thing with our lenses, to have this felt on the inside here. The Mark I doesn't have that on its lens hood. What it's designed to do is the light hits the felt, and it's not easily reflected into the optics of the lens itself, so that's something good there. Another thing to note is as well, you can use this with a times 1.4 and times 2 converter. so you can have a very easily handheldable 140 to 400 f5.6 if you wanted to, which I have used on some occasions before I got the bigger lenses. But overall, that's the lens there itself. It's obviously got your tripod ring on here. This isn't like one of the new ones where it's got like a notch each quarter, so you do have to kind of guess where you're kind of putting it. You've got a nice line up in the middle there just to make sure that you line up central. So what we're going to do now is though, we're going to go and move on and have a look at some of the imagery taken with this lens, and then we'll go from there and talk about my overall thoughts of the lens. So we've shown you some photos using this and the R3. We've also shown you the spec of the lens itself. What do I think of this lens? I obviously already own as well a Mark 1, which I do use with mirrorless. In comparison, this does feel like the focus is slightly quicker than it is on the Mark 1. It does feel a little bit more well made as well. There's no sort of movement or rattling. There's, when you pick up the focus dial on mine, it does sort of rattle a little bit now, and that could just be more age related rather than anything else. But everything else feels nice and tight, nice and well made. It's got a much nicer lens hood. It's got that locking feature where you can kind of lock it on and off. There's been a couple of occasions where I have knocked mine off accidentally while it's been resting on my side. But from, as I've shown you in the images, you aren't guaranteed a 100% hit rate, and that goes with any converted lens. Even with an RF lens, you're not going to get a 100% hit rate, but you are less likely to get hit rate with an EF lens. Now, does that mean you should spend 3 times more on an RF version? Not at all. This lens, even with the Mark III, I believe this actually has the same body as the Mark III, or the same internals, sorry, as the Mark III, and the body is slightly changed. So there's no point upgrading this to a Mark III in my opinion. You might as well just use this as long as you're happy with where the button layouts are and how it feels in your hand and the weight of it, because it is a bit weightier than what some people would be used to going from like a kit lens or something like that. So you've got to get used to the weight itself, but it's very handholdable, very usable. As I said, you can use it with the 1.4 converter or the 2x converter if you want to, and gain a little bit more range. You will obviously have a slight drop in image quality, and you also will have a slower AF focus because you are going through, if you're using mirrorless anyway, a converter and then the converter to make it the ×2 or 1.4. But overall, for the money, there isn't really, if you want a fast lens that you can kind of use this at the zoo, you can use it at the zoo. You can do this for sort of close-up wildlife, like I've shown with the frog. You can use it for that. If you've got a pet like a dog, as I've shown you, you can use it for those. You can use nice portrait photos with this. You can also, if you're doing sports, very good lens to use, especially for inside as well, being 2.8. You're going to let a lot of light in at the front of that, and I say it's just a very good versatile lens, and I would 100% recommend it. Even if you've got a Mark 1, I would say try and upgrade to the Mark 2. It is better made in my opinion. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know if you've got this lens, if you've got the RF lens, if you've got the Mark 1, the Mark 3. Let me know your thoughts on how you're getting on with those. Do you think I'm correct? Do you think I'm wrong? Let me know down below, and I will catch you in the next one next week. See you again soon. Goodbye.